Hey guys, it's Ann Yorks from the Flower Box, and I have another summer tutorial for you. Today, we're going to look at the swimming suit cutter. We're going to make 3 different really cool, fabulous designs. Let's cookie it up. The first design we're going to look at is this one-piece swimsuit that is in burgundy. So see how I sectioned off the waist, then I add an icing guide dot in the center. That'll just help me to outline the straps. We'll bring that outline completely down. I love to use tip number 2 on my piping icing bag when I'm doing outlines and most details. Now we'll flood in this cookie, and we do want to see some of those natural definition lines between those icing areas. So I'm going to flood those top sections and the bottom section, allow that to dry for about an hour in front of the fan, and then I'll come back in and flood that center waist section. That will just give me that beautiful definition line between all of those icing areas. Now let's add some details. I'm adding a bead border down the side of the straps, and this is a series of overlapping teardrops. So each teardrop is layered on the tail of the teardrop before it, just to create that really pretty, beautiful texture. Now when you're looking to add the detail on the waist section, we're gonna pull that first line 2/3 of the way over. Once we know where that detail ends, we can add those 2 ties, and we want this section to look nice and smooth, so I'm actually using my flood icing to create these 2 small little areas. Then we'll finish with our piped details. I have my piping icing, and I'm just gonna add the tie there, and then I'm ready to bring that last line for the wraparound waist over to the right. Those details are super simple, and this cookie is done. Let's take a look at this forest green bathing suit. I'll start by piping an X across the top half of the bathing suit, and I'll outline the base all using the forest green piping icing. The top of the suit is that M shape. Notice I'm not going completely against the cookie. I'm really just filling in that area to allow room for the straps. Then I want to flood in that top section of the bathing suit using that white flood icing. The detail on this suit is a wet on wet. So while that white icing is still very wet, I'm going to go in and add these feathery looking leaves to this bathing suit pattern. So I start with that center line of the leaf, and then I'll add just that oval shape on the top. There's no wrong way to do this. I'm just adding a couple leaves here and there. I do have some pastel forest green, and I'm going to add that into the center of the leaf just as an accent color, and then use my scribe just to wiggle that together and give it a little bit of a feathered look. So I'm just using the point of the scribe to get in there. And if you want to pull a little down into the stem of that leaf, go ahead and just use the tip of the scribe to do that. Now this is the more labor-intensive part of the cookie. The rest is pretty straightforward. I just let that top section dry for about 30 to 60 minutes in front of the fan, and then I'll add in the forest green base to the suit. We want to give a wrapped illusion to the top of this bathing suit, like it's wrapping around the body. So we're gonna add these folds of fabric using the tip number 1 on our white piping bag. And I'm just adding a couple of piped lines for an accent. Now I'll add the straps to the bathing suit. I'm going all the way up to the top with my forest green piping icing and tip number 2. And you're ready to take this swimsuit poolside. Oh yeah. Let's take a look at my favorite suit in this set. This is a really fun pink and floral suit. And I'm going to start outlining using the waist again. I just find finding those central locations really helps me to make my cookies look consistent from cookie to cookie. So I'm using my white icing. I do a little cutout at the side of the suit with that outline as well. Outline the base using the light pink and then flood in the top and the waist completely using that white icing. This design has another wet on wet, so I'm actually going to section off those wet on wet areas before I flood in that pink base. So I'm just flooding in the main section of the suit, and now I'm going to add some green for the leaves that go with these wet on wet flowers. I'm using both shades of the forest green. Once you have those leaves in the wet on wet pattern, you can go in and add the petals of the flowers. I'm adding these petals using a zigzag motion, and then we'll add some details to these petals once this icing is dry using some petal dust and also a food marker. Now we'll add just some basic details using a black food marker. I added some dots to the center of the cookie and just some real rough outlines to the flowers and the leaves. That just sort of makes those accents stand out a little bit more. Let's add the stripes to the bathing suit. I'm using a pastel navy icing with my piping bag and a tip number 1. I'm using a good even hand squeeze to get those lines spaced out evenly on the swimsuit. I love this color combination between the baker's rose, the pastel navy, and those forest greens. If you're looking for full details on how to make these icing colors, check out the blog post on flowerbox.com. What a beautiful swimsuit. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing these 3 really pretty swimsuit cookies. Again, for more details on how to make these, check out the blog post on flowerbox.com. Until next time, happy decorating.